So this is one of my favorite places to explore, and it's beginning to ask ourselves, what's in my rule book about certain situations? And this time around, we're going to be exploring what's in my rule book about other people. Now, if we think about this in the round, that's usually a bit tricky because we've probably got different rules for different people who have different roles in our lives. For example, we're very likely to have a different set of rules regarding family members, partners and spouses, children, and so on than we might have for people that we just bump into in the street. Although we will have rules for them too. So what I would advise you do is perhaps pick one or two different groups of people in your world and use this exercise to begin to explore those groups first before you maybe start to think, are there any rules that I have stowed away more widely, such as people should be polite, people should be respectful, these kind of things. You may very well discover that those actually sit in all camps. At all times, the people around you should be polite or respectful. For example, may very well be one of your rules. You might also have rules around timekeeping, promptness, that kind of thing. And then you're going to have specific rules for specific roles, and understanding what those are is important too. So choose a group. Maybe think about family members. If you've got kids, maybe think about kids. What should kids be? And that's the question you're going to ask yourself is, okay, so what are the rules? What should these people be? What should they be doing? How should they behave? Just how should they be? Whatever question feels like the right question for you, that's the right question to ask. But essentially, you're looking to see if you can capture how should they be. And it's typical that we'd be looking for things like behaviors. What sort of behaviors should they be displaying? How should they be treating you? What should they be doing? And all sorts of other stuff. So you're looking to capture as much of that information as you can. Give yourself time. Give yourself space. You don't need to force this. What can be quite useful is to start an initial thought, start an initial list. You might be quite surprised how long it gets, so don't worry if you're noticing there's quite a few they shoulds. That's all grand. We're just finding out what's in there. And the complexity and depth of the rule book, I think, is one of the most exciting things to realize how complex it is, how very, very long this list of rules is, as to how other people should be showing up depending on their role. What you can then begin to notice is any that you've missed because you realize you've noticed when someone hasn't done that, you have clocked it as being not okay. So you should add that to the list of things that they should be doing. And that's why this is useful, because what it's going to give you fairly quickly is a snapshot of your beliefs about what other people should be doing and perhaps shouldn't be doing in relation to you, usually based on the relationship that they have with you. What are the rules that you have stowed away around what good looks like in these spaces? And then you can begin to start to notice what happens for you when the rule book isn't followed. In other words, when someone else does something that you perceive to be not good, not okay, not what you believe to be the deal, if you like. What happens? What do you notice next? Because the chances are that's going to be extremely useful to you. Why? Because we need to remember this is our rule book, not necessarily the other person's. It's not necessarily the other person's understanding of the deal at all. They will have their own rule book as to what we should be doing and what they should be doing, and they may differ. They may differ massively, they may differ subtly. What's really useful to notice is where are the gaps and what happens for us. Chances are we're going to feel rather more emotionally involved, whether that's that we're now feeling angry, annoyed, upset, disappointed, or any other number of things. It's useful to notice what and why did it happen. This then gives us the opportunity to pause and ask, is this a conversation that needs to be had? Is there a realignment of those expectations that might be beneficial, especially when we realise that some of our rules are, putting it politely, just a tiny bit unreasonable. Sometimes our standards are ridiculously high. So once we know, we have the opportunity to reflect on whether that's helpful or not, whether that perhaps requires some dialogue and discussion to make things better, or actually it's one of those things that we've now discovered is not supporting us. So we perhaps need to decide whether that rule, if you like, stays or whether we perhaps try and rewire or edit it. Anyway, have fun, enjoy. I always find this particularly illuminating. Remember your kindness. These are simply beliefs you hold, not who you are. And explore with care. But I do hope that whatever you discover is helpful for you.